Bishopmill, or Bishopmills, or if you go back a bit further, Bishop's Mill. Now, if you go way back to Bishop's Mill, roughly where Dakota is, there was a water mill, i.e. a mill powered by water. It ground the flour. It would have been ever so slightly uphill from where Dakota actually is now, but it would have been on there. And then a wee bit further up, roughly about halfway between the Buccaneer Garage and Dakota, there was another windmill. That one was a windmill. Now, both of these were on land that officially belonged to the bishop way back then. None of these houses existed. There was nothing here. There was a wee mill, roughly about where that old wall is. That was a mill. And then the other one would have been halfway between here and the Buccaneer Garage. Now, the rent that these millers had to pay to the bishop is quite funny when you think back now. Each mill had to pay the bishop 2 sacks of grain per month. Basically, what would amount to a cupful of pepper and 2 shillings for the year. So you had your two big sacks of flour per month, a cupful of pepper per month, and 2 shillings each year. So it was a bit of a complicated rent, but it was rent nonetheless. But because these aren't commercial buildings, you can see the changes. You see where the old staircase used to lead you up to the upstairs flat. Because remember, most folks' houses in the 1800s was 1 or 2 bedrooms, not 3 or 4 like we have now. It would have been your bedroom, your living room, your kitchen. If you're lucky, you might have an outhouse outside for a bathroom. Now, I'm coming over here so I can film the houses over the road without looking too conspicuous. These are some of the older ones on Bridge Street. Now you can see the end one has the remains of a sign above the door. It's J. Mitchell, and above the window it says shoemaker. There was something above the other window too, but it's been worn away completely. But that one says shoemaker. So J. Mitchell the shoemaker, that was his shop, or her shop, I'm presuming his. Wherever you are, we're only supposed to be having small wanders, not traipsing too far from home. So look around your neighbourhood. See what old traces you can find. It may be something as simple as this wall, which I have to cross the road to get. This wall. Now, as you can see, it's very, very different to the one next door. But this section that they've had to alter where they joined the modern one compared to the old section, they're much more free with the mortar. And if you look close enough, you can sometimes find little shells and things. You might even find human hair, because they used to use it as a bonding agent to set the mortar more solid, so it had more strength. I know it's a bit gross nowadays, but they were freer with the mortar because it didn't cost as much. Let's see what else we can see. And of course these ones were all sandblasted a few years back. So they're not painted, they've just been sandblasted. Which is okay for some stone, but not okay for all stone, because sometimes it does damage. And also, it's a long time since there was ivy crawling up that wall, but you can see the damage that the ivy's roots actually did to the wall. And there's another old window, or older door, with the line of the staircase coming down towards the street. Oh, it's bloody freezing out here. That wind is cold. There's an awful lot of traffic today to say everybody's supposed to be staying in. Awful lot of traffic. More than I've seen in the last week and a half. Okay, I've only left the house like 3 or 4 times, but this is the most traffic I've seen. Rising sun. An old pub. Not the oldest, but an old pub. I've not got any stories for here, so if anybody kens any, just send them across to me. And the big hump of grass. A few of the younger end wonder why there is a big hunk of grass on that side, and on this side there is a rather steep set of stairs. And they couldn't figure it out until they speak to somebody like me. Now, where these steps start, where the wee street sign is, going across onto the top of the hump of grass was the bridge. Now, when we moved here in 1978, this street here was the main road to come up the hill through the town out to the turn off for Lossy and Holtman. This was the main road. Now, if you go back to 1900s, 1800s, possibly even 1700s, there would have been a massive bridge going across from there all the way across onto there. In 1901 it was demolished because it didn't really serve much of a purpose, and as the horseless carriages got bigger and bigger, i.e. when lorries were invented, they could not pass under the arches of the bridge. So they demolished the bridge because it was no longer needed. But it would have gone from there across to there. That's why you have East High Street and West High Street in Bishopmill. It used to be 1, but then when they knocked the bridge down, it's 2. It's a bit miserable. It looks even worse on the hill. It looks like the rain's heavier. I'm just looking for any random little oddities. Aha! Now, bog standard bit of stain, right? See these bits here? These is iron stains. Now, there is iron naturally present in sand. Sand makes stone, yada yada yada. There is not always an iron stain on a stone because it used to have an iron fitting attached. Sometimes it is naturally occurring, more so depending on where they got it from. So, some areas have more iron in the rock than others. Cullen, for one, is very, very red. So there is a lot of iron in Cullen sandstone. It's unusual to be able to stroll across Bishopmill Brae, eh? It's quite fine though. Now, of course, we have West Backstreet and East Backstreet. Because back then, Bishopmill functioned as a village. Hence why all the shops were in this little bit here, between East and West High Street and going up to Morrison Road. Because this area functioned as a little village completely separate from the town for a long, long time, up until the early 1900s, when Bishopmill started to become absorbed by Elgin itself. Now, what else have we got? The Golden Pheasant. Used to be in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest bar in the UK. I don't know if it was the longest bar in Europe or what, but it was the longest bar in the UK, that's for sure. And this is a good way. Some people think it's cool when they see a wall like this. So you never thought you'd watch a live about walls, would you? Isolation does funny things to your mind. Now, on this, you've got your bog standard sandstone, your old mortar. Check how high a content of sand that has. A lot of it's reverted back to sand, actually. Okay. And then along here, folk would say, oh, that's where something used to be attached. It might be. It might also be where there was a naturally occurring clump of iron in the quarry in the section that they took this from, and maybe it was up against that. And when they took it out, it left the iron behind. Also, you're not going to use your drinking water to make mortar. You use seawater. So sometimes you find pebbles and things and seashells stuck in the mortar. Lossy Town Hall, if you're near Lossy Town Hall, you have a look at the front of that, the side that faces the old post office, and there's actually fossilised worm casts on the front of the Lossy Town Hall. It's like lines that appear like they're running through the stone, but they're solid. And it's the old worm trails from the lugworm back from when it was a beach, before it was a wall. So there's some random little bits: archaeology, geology, local history, you name it. When you're all stuck in isolation and bored out your skull, you will watch an amazing range of different videos. If it helps, pretty much everybody's in the same boat. This guy in the car's gawking at me like I've lost my mind. There's a lot of folk in the same boat. There's a lot of people struggling. Check on your pals. Nearly everybody's got a phone or social Facebook, Messenger, blah blah, social media, that's the word I was looking for. But yeah, check on your pals and your family, make sure everybody's okay. But you didn't ken there was palm trees growing in Elgin. There's loads of stuff you can do remotely. I have a pal in Ireland. We sometimes sit on Skype for 3-4 hours at a time watching movies together. There's all sorts you can do to keep the contact up, keep your spirits up. So, however long this lasts and whatever you're doing, mind and look for the silver linings. See you later.